If you don't learn from the mistakes in your past is doomed to repeat itself. The first month of 2024 has come and gone. All of the initial New Year, New Me hysteria has worn off, and people have gone back to doing all of the bad habits they said they would stop. If you consume the value in this video, it will help you make 2024 the best year of your life. But before that, let me ask you a few questions. What were your New Year's resolutions for 2023? By a show of hands, how many of you completed all of your New Year's resolutions? How many of you completed half of them? How many of you don't even remember what they were? That's my point. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. Unless you take accountability for your failures, fully accept that you lost, and then figure out how to make sure you don't make the same mistakes, you will fail again. The worst part is, you'll fail in the exact same way. So here's exactly what you need to do to change. Step 1. After you have liked this video and clicked the subscribe button, write down all of the goals that you set for yourself last year. Tick off the ones you completed and cross out the ones you failed. Step 2. Take a moment to fully process the fact that you let yourself down. I'm all for being positive, but sometimes you need to give yourself some tough love, instead of hiding behind positivity. Don't brush these failures off, and don't act like you didn't want to achieve them because you did. I don't care how you do this, man. Cry, write down the goals you failed a bunch of times, stare at yourself in the mirror, but just take a moment to feel the despair, the disappointment, the fact that you let yourself down. Step 3. After you're done processing your feelings, I want you to analyze each goal individually and figure out exactly why you didn't achieve it. This is the most important part, and it's easy to do badly. Don't just go for the easy answer and say something like, "Oh, I was lazy," or "I didn't try hard enough." Duh, bro. I want you to really think about it and ask yourself, why were you lazy? What caused it? How can you eliminate it as a problem? And finally, step 4, watch the rest of this video as I break down in detail how you can change by using a situation from Blue Lock as an example. For those of you who don't know, Blue Lock is a soccer anime where a man named Jinpachi Igo has decided to create the greatest striker Japan has ever seen. A striker is the player whose main job is to score. Think of him as the soccer equivalent to a shooting guard or a wide receiver. Igo recruits 300 students and places them in a facility known as Blue Lock, where they are put through trials which usually end in elimination. If a player is eliminated during these trials, they will never be able to play for the Japanese national team. One of these trials is a 3v3 game. The game is simple. Players must form teams of 3 and play against each other. The first team to score 5 goals in the game wins. If your team is victorious, you get to poach a player from the other team and move on to the next stage, where you play a 4v4 against another victorious team. The same is true in reverse. If you lose, you must play a 2v2 against another team of losers and try to poach one of their players. The goal is to form a team of 5 in order to advance through to the next round. However, if you lose a 2v2 game and are not picked by the other team, you are eliminated from Blue Lock and will never play for the national team. The main character Isagi loses his first game but then wins his 2v2 and is able to recruit Barou Shoei to form a deadly team of him, Barou, and Nagi. On the other side of the facility, Chigiri, Reo, and Kunigami form an equally dangerous team and challenge Isagi. Throughout the game, Barou, Isagi's teammate, can't bring himself to be a team player due to his massive ego.
Huh?
Isagi was totally free back there. Why didn't you pass to him?
Shut up. Why the hell would I pass it to someone so they can score?
Isagi realizes this, and instead of trying to be Barou's teammate, he essentially uses him as a decoy and devours him.
Barou, forget making the most of his moves. Instead, devour his style and dominate the field. And don't drag us down. I'm telling you that you better not get in our way, donkey.
It's important to note that Barou is significantly bigger than Isagi, and up until this point has seen Isagi as beneath him. So when Barou realizes that Isagi has surpassed him, and that Nagi and Isagi are now the stars of the team and not him, it destroys him. His whole life he's been the main character, and for the first time in his soccer career, he's a supporting character. At first, Barou was actually relieved, since the pressure of always having to be the man is now off his shoulders. He even contemplates passing the ball to the superior strikers. and enjoying the lack of pressure that being the sidekick provides. For him, the pain of being the loser is so great that he will do anything to relieve himself of it. Mind you, Barou has already lost 2 games before this one, and has been useless this entire game as well. So those consecutive defeats, and the fact that Isige and Nagi have scored all 4 of the goals so far, is weighing heavy on him. So by passing the ball for Isige and Nagi to score the winning goal, he could stop being in so much pain. In his own words, I could leave the goal to them. It might even relieve me of this sense of defeat.
I could leave the goal to them. It might even relieve me of this sense of defeat.
But then he realizes that this is just a coping mechanism, something that losers tell themselves to be able to deal with the fact that they never did the things that they always wanted to do. He puts his ego first like a striker should, and decides that if he is not going to be the hero of the story, he will be the villain. He then proceeds to score the final goal and win the game. This was Barou's awakening. But what does this have to do with your New Year's resolutions? Well, after the game, Ego presents a concept that I want you to ingrain into your mind. Something that will probably not be easy for most of you to hear, so if you're sensitive, I recommend you click off now. Ego speaks of a concept that he calls dream doping. Dream doping is essentially coping with defeat. When a person loses at anything, especially something that they deeply care about, like achieving a goal that they've been chasing, the psychological pain is intense. We all know this because we've all lost at things we desperately wanted to win in the past. Dream doping is essentially when you avoid feeling the pain of the defeat and taking accountability for it. You say things to yourself like, well, I didn't really care anyway, or I'll get them next time, I'm just getting started. Or even something corny like, I don't care about winning, I do it for the love of it only.
Cap.
Now with the album out, are you paying attention to what people are saying about it?
Basically, once you've tasted the bitter flavor of defeat, you abandon your original dream and make it about chasing it instead. Let me tell you a quick story about how I recently dream doped. The other day, I was playing Monopoly with my family, and without getting into too much detail, I took a huge risk and almost went bankrupt for it. I got lucky and ended up making more money than I had before, but afterwards we took a break and I reflected on my thoughts whilst taking the risk. When it seemed like I would lose the game, my mind immediately went into soy boy mode and started dream doping.
Happy Father's Day, Mom.
Happy Father's Day, Mama.
Oh, Mom. Happy Father's Day.
I started thinking things like, well, I never wanted to play this game anyway. I'm only here because it means a lot to my family, and I wasn't even taking it seriously. If I lose, I get to go back to watching movies sooner. I was dream doping. Sure, I never did take the game seriously, and was only there for the family, but if I was honest with myself, if I was winning the game, I would have been enjoying it. Let's not lie. It didn't mean a lot to me, but if I could have pushed a button and made that risk go away, I would have. The risk did end up paying off in the end, but I didn't win the game. However, the lesson stayed the same. As soon as the pressure came on, and the chance of losing was present, I immediately started coping. Think about how scary that is. I hadn't even lost the game, but was already assuming that I would, and preparing excuses for my brain so that I wouldn't feel bad. The fact that you haven't taken accountability for not reaching your 2023 New Year's resolutions will guarantee that you do not hit your 2024 New Year's resolutions. Instead of holding yourself accountable for your failures, experiencing the pain of defeat rather than running from it, and then figuring out why you lost and how to never make the same mistake again, you simply forgot about last year's resolutions, gave into the hysteria of this new year, set new resolutions, and started the cycle all over again. When it comes to chasing your dreams and trying to be extremely successful, I want you all to understand something. Chasing your dreams will not be fun, and it certainly won't be comfortable. You will be forced to push yourself through a lot of stress and recover from many defeats. The bigger your dreams, the more painful the journey to achieve them will be. The road to greatness is littered with thorns. For some reason though, when people finally decide to chase their dreams, they assume it will be easy. The musician assumes that his first album will make him famous. The entrepreneur assumes that his first business will succeed and make him a millionaire. The content creator assumes that he'll be monetized on YouTube within a few videos. They also assume that it will happen within a few months or so. The arrogance is uncanny. But once they fail a few times and a few years go by, they compromise on their dream. They lose their stubbornness, their ego. They say to themselves, oh, I'll just get a part-time job, or I'll just study a few courses so I can qualify for certain positions. They start comparing themselves to their friends who have degrees and stable jobs, and forget that they never wanted to have a stable job or a degree. They wanted to sell out arenas, compete at the highest level of their field, and have a fancy car for every day of the week. You can take your degree to apply for a job, but you can't take it to the Porsche dealership, Rose. Oh, and about the stable job thing, unless you're like the CEO of Google or something, there isn't a job around where you can earn $1 million a month. You have to make it. Conor McGregor is famous in saying that he lost his mind trying to become a great martial artist. And when it comes to big dreams, there is a good chance that you will lose your mind as well. If you one day dream of being a famous musician, an athlete, a CEO, a multi-millionaire entrepreneur, and you think that you'll just achieve that without making sacrifices, without stressing so hard that it drives you to sickness, without pushing yourself to the absolute limit, then you are a fool. I'm literally sick right now as I'm writing this, because the stress of this YouTube thing is driving me and everyone around me crazy. But you know what? I don't care. This is my dream, and I will die before letting it go. What will you do for yours?